Hi there, welcome to Wine Searcher. Today I thought I'd finish off something I promised to do a while back. A couple of months ago I did a video on tasting red wine, and so to follow that up, here's a video on tasting white wine. To illustrate that, I have a bottle of Nga Waka, which is a Martinborough Chardonnay. It's a 2018. It's a wine I know reasonably well and enjoy, but I'm hoping this is going to be a good example of to be able to show you what we're looking for. In terms of tasting conditions, things you should think about. We've got quite good light here. There are no extraneous aromas that will interfere. Excuse the noise of the cicadas in the background. Nothing we can do about that, I'm afraid. So in terms of sort of tasting conditions, we've got the wine chilled. Now you might, if you're a purist when you're tasting, choose to taste it slightly warmer so that the chilling of the wine doesn't hide any of its inadequacies. But I think most of us want to, drink the wine, not just taste it. So I've got this nicely chilled. White wine, generally served in slightly smaller glasses than you would a red wine. And the reason for that being that if you're keeping your wine in an ice bucket, then you can pour smaller samples and keep it nice and chilled for you, rather than having a large pour that will warm up during the course of that serving. That's the only reason I can see for that. So if you want to use larger wine glasses for whites, they may enhance the aromas that you're getting. So the steps, we're going to look at the wine's appearance. We'll then have a look at its aromas, and then we'll talk through the palate and how that's constructed. So if you're talking about a wine's appearance, here you've got a white wine which is yellow in colour, probably a mid-yellow. In the old days of tasting, we used to talk about lemon yellow. I think people have worked out that lemons come in a range of colours, so let's just say mid-yellow. What else are we looking for? We're looking to see the viscosity of the wine as you swirl it. Does it cling to the glass, which would imply sweetness, would imply higher alcohol. This is not particularly showing as very viscous. At the same time, it is hanging there a little, so yeah, it's got a little bit of weightiness to it. The other thing is the wine clear and bright? These days, thankfully, very few wines that are served in on-trade establishments or sold in the shops come cloudy unintentionally, but on some occasions they may do. So that's always worth noting, and perhaps deciding whether you actually want to continue drinking it if that's the case. Give the wine a swirl, release the aromas into the bowl of the glass, and take a nice big sniff of it. Now, when you're talking about the aromas, you're describing them and you want to assess them as well. So what I mean by that is, how intense are the aromas? Are they really obvious? Do they jump out of the glass, or are they delicate? On this occasion, the aromas are intense. What are they made up of in terms of fruit flavours perhaps, and in terms of the wine's development, or in terms of production aromas that might be there? So as far as this is concerned, there's a dominating aroma of the oak that the wine would have fermented in. This is a barrel fermented wine, which may have increased the colour, but also gives a sort of a vanilla and cedar note to the aroma. Behind that, you've got fruit aromas. There's a lovely lemoniness, and perhaps behind that a delicate pineapple aroma. So there's fruit in there, but there are also sort of more lifted top notes. There's a sort of a lime flower note to it that's absolutely lovely. But then behind that, there are dairy notes, which might suggest that the wine has been in a barrel where the lees, the dead yeast, have been stirred up, and that gives a sort of a creamy note to the wine. And then also, in concert with that, there are notes of butterscotch, which with a barrel fermented wine will often show that the wine has stayed in that barrel and done a malolactic conversion, and something called diacetyl is created, and that gives that butterscotch aroma. So I've talked about this for long enough. Next stage, obviously, is actually to taste the wine. Obviously, depending on the company you're with, but take a large amount of the wine into your mouth. Don't be afraid to have plenty to taste. Run it right the way around your mouth, and as you saw there, you suck a bit of air in over it, and that will help to pull the flavours out. As I say, that depends on the company you're in. It's not always acceptable. So what am I tasting here? What am I looking for? I'm looking for things like sweetness, alcohol level, acidity, and then the fruit flavours, and how the wine was made. This is a dry wine. Now, having said that, it's quite a rich, ripe wine, so there are lovely ripe flavours there. But that's not sweetness, that's not sugar we're talking about. The acidity, the freshness to the finish. This isn't highly acidic, but it's got good balanced acidity, and I can feel that on the sides of my tongue. That's causing me to salivate, so that's great. The alcohol level, well, this has reasonable alcohol. I mean, the bottle says it is 13.5%. I can feel a slight warmth on the back of my tongue. It's in balance, but it's to a higher side there. The flavours are repeating what I had on the mouth there. There's slightly more of the peach, some of the lemon in terms of the fruit, and then you've got those dairy aspects. You've got butterscotch, and that's actually nicely melded with the barrel aromas, the sort of the toasty vanilla notes there. Also, in terms of assessment, how long do the flavours last? How intense are they? And there's a reasonable richness. There's a reasonable weight to the wine. It's not thin. It's not a heavy weight, but it's medium to full-bodied. And the flavours last well. The acidity is helping the flavours to show right to the end there. So hopefully that's giving you some insights as to not everything, but the sort of things you should be looking for when you're tasting a white wine. And this has been very enjoyable. I hope it's useful to you. Bye now.